This is a video response to John Pollack's recent Warhammer RPG video. First, I want to congratulate John and his wife on the birth of their baby boy. Best wishes and good health. I did find it mildly amusing that John thinks he's going to be back recording in only a week after the birth of a baby. Good luck, and regardless of whether or not you actually make it back or not, again, best wishes. I thought that John's overview of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay was quite good. He highlighted the important additions, the 1986 or 85-86 version that was released by Games Workshop, which I think we all in the U.S. certainly call the first edition. I too own that edition, my original books, now 30 years old. The first one released in the U.S. was a hardback, and the second printing, which is more or less a 0.5 or revision, cleaned up some of the text, but is essentially the same version, same cover, but it is in a perfect binding or paperback. In 2005, of course, and John covered the interim publisher of Hogshead very well and some of the supplements that they have. Many of those supplements are available as PDFs. As John was showing some of his print copies of that, I thought that was great. I own many of the PDFs. Encourage you to go out and hunt those down. Those are more or less available. Won't say license free or freely available, but you can find them on the internet. And of course, the second edition came out in 2005. I had long since taken a break from role-playing. I think in 2005, my daughter was 2 years old at the time, and my wife and I had been married for maybe 5 or 6 years at that point, and it was a hobby that I mostly had given up on. But with the release of the second edition of Warhammer, I immediately came back to it. I was super excited about it. Several of my friends at work, being a software engineer, of course, it's easy to surround yourself with like-minded nerds. Found a group and began GM in second edition in 2005-2006. I haven't left that edition. In fact, even today, I'm running a second edition campaign. This is a second one, and it's going on 4 years. Same group of players, new characters, new adventures, taking place in the second edition post-Storm of Chaos world that Black Library, with the help of Green Ronin, released. There is some really good stuff there. I think my story with Warhammer starts, of course, in 1985 and 86 at a friendly local gaming store. And it was the one game that I kept, actually, even after I sold a significant portion of my collection. Twilight 2000, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and so many other titles that I collected while I was at that friendly local gaming store before I went to college. And I sold even more of that collection, my Shadowrun collection, shortly after being married. Made quite a bit of money on that first edition and second edition Shadowrun collection as well. So it was a bit of a windfall back in 2000. But there was one game that I kept, and that was my first edition collection of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It was a game that I never left, and it always captured my imagination, so I really appreciated the overview John gave of that. But I had a couple of things, I guess you could say corrections, or maybe some pedantic observations in John's video. I think the first one was, in second edition, I don't believe that there was a loss of careers. In fact, I would say there were more careers in the second edition than there were in the first edition. Just a really quick counting, the first edition had 99 basic and advanced careers total. Maybe 103 if you count the 4 different kinds of magic users that first edition had. The second edition had 110 basic and advanced careers together. And with the release of the Career Compendium, which was one of the core second edition source books, released either very late in the run with Green Ronin, possibly shortly after the purchase. I have mine sitting over here somewhere, but I believe maybe it was actually released under the Fantasy Flight license as one of the titles produced by Green Ronin, but released under the transfer of the Fantasy Flight license before J. Little and Fantasy Flight released 3rd edition. With the Career Compendium, there are over 200 basic and advanced careers, and the Career Compendium collects all the careers from all the supplements of the 2nd edition in one book, and almost gives a full page to each career with a significant amount of detail, adventure hooks, and other items that you can sort of take with you into your campaign as a player and as a game master. So significant growth in the career space. So 2nd edition certainly expanded that space as well, and it's a little bit of a nitpicky thing, but I wanted to point that out. I think the biggest thing that struck me in John's video was how he characterized the magic system in 2nd edition as being very close to the 1st edition. I couldn't disagree more with that. In fact, the 2nd edition magic system is not only cleaner, I think, than the 1st edition, which borrowed a lot of its magic look and feel, if you want to call it that, from the tabletop board game. The 2nd edition really departed from that and took a more of a traditional sort of RPG slant. Also made it much more dangerous to use from any number of aspects. The 2nd edition magic system just really got dangerous to use as a apprentice magician. You could find yourself in mind blasting events just by missing a roll, ending up with any number of insanities touching those the colors of magic that the system brought. The core rulebook doesn't do a very good job of making that an attractive option. It's got a limited number of spells. It doesn't do much in that space, but with the release of the Realms of Sorcery sourcebook, brought, of course, rune magic, as John pointed out, but it was also complemented by the Divine Magic book called the Tome of Salvation, so you get a significant amount of expansion of spells, expansion of lore. Both of those books, I think, in the 2nd edition are critical to any collection. Another book that is difficult to find but available licensed on PDF is the Tome of Corruption. That also brings some of that Slaves of Darkness and Chaos of Corruption or Corruption of Chaos source books from 1st edition. The 3 of those books in 2nd edition really round out the entire Chaos magic, we'll call it more traditional magic, and Divine Magic. Lost in 2nd edition is Druidic Magic and Elementalism, which was in the 1st edition. Those are actually brought back by some supplements by the infamous Mad Alfred, or Alfred Nunez Jr., gentleman that was also cited in John's video. Definitely look for those on the Mad Alfred website. Significant resources there. Highly recommend checking out his website as well. I guess really to wrap this up is that I do agree with John that 3rd edition sucked. I was not a fan of how J. Little changed the game and the direction that Fantasy Flight took it. It was very much a card game. It felt like a card game. It certainly, supplements came out, certainly felt that way as well. They tried to capture some of the magic of 1st edition by redoing the famous, and some people consider the best campaign ever written for RPGs, the Enemy Within campaign. I'm not really sure they were able to do that or how well it came out, because frankly I just thought 3rd edition sucked and I didn't look at it at all. John didn't touch on this, I don't think, in his video, but I did want to point out that a 4th edition is rumored to be in the works. The license has recently transferred to a European company or a British company. There's a lot of speculation that might be Cubicle 7. And in fact, if you own any of the PDFs on Drive-Thru-RPG, you will notice that the licensee has changed from Fantasy Flight Games to Cubicle 7. So there's a lot of speculation that might be an unintended reveal by Games Workshop. But excited to hear that there might be a new edition coming out, although I'm not necessarily really interested in it if it's building off 3rd edition or if it's building off the Fantasy Flight Star Wars model. I would like to see something that builds off of the 2nd edition model and brings more race books to the system. 2nd edition did not have any race books, particularly like the Dwarves, Stone, and Steel book that John raved about. There is a elf book, a wood elf book that was offered on a supplement fan-built supplement site called Libra Fanatica. Definitely take a look at that. There's a lot of great stuff there for 2nd edition as well as 3rd edition. There were a couple of supplements released for 3rd edition on that site as well, but definitely take a look at that, and maybe we'll see a 4th edition very soon. It's kind of exciting. Thanks, John, for the great overview. I hope that this provides some additional clarity, some of the things that John pointed out. Again, congratulations to John and his wife on the birth of their son. And finally, I'll close out with the image that's on your desktop now. It is a piece of artwork that I did for my first 2nd edition Warhammer Fantasy campaign, a map of some objects that the players collected and turned out fairly well. And, of course, as all great campaigns, it ended with them saving the world. And good night.